source of my strength. Come on, y'all. And you are the strength of my life. And I lift my hands in total praise to you. Sing it with me, y'all. Oh, you are the source of my strength. And you are the strength of my life. And I lift my hands in total praise to you. Amen. 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 Yeah. Let me hear you say yeah. Yeah. Higher. 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 Come on now. Woo, put them hands together. Lovers, yeah. Keep on loving. Hey. All right. Believers, yes. Keep on believing. Oh, and teachers, please, 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 please keep on teaching, 'cause it won't be too long. Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah, so darn glad I'm here again. Wake up every morning and I turn within. So glad, trying again. I'm gonna keep on, keep on, keep on, keep on, keep on, keep on. Higher, 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 higher. Come on, Rev, come on, Rev, come on, Rev, come on, Rev. Take it higher, 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 higher. Woo! Woo! Yeah, yeah. Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith.
Peace and blessings, everyone. That's Arne Batson. You may have heard of the group Sweet Honey in the Rock. She's from that group. This is Rashid Lani. You may have heard of Hugh Masekela. He plays for Hugh Masekela. Right here from South Africa. And thank you for your presence on the stage. It's been magnificent and immaculate. Beautiful. Let's give her some love and appreciation. And it is my joy and my honor to be here in South Africa, to be here in a way in which we are localizing a cosmic celebration that's happening throughout the cosmos, and most importantly, allowing our heart to be the epicenter of that divine celebration. Please look to a neighbor right next to you. Just turn to the neighbor next to you and look at them and just say, "Oh my God, there is such beauty in you. There's such radiant joy in you. There's so much power in you. There's so much intelligence in you. And you have come to set it free, to make a mighty difference in this world and to change the world for the better. Let's be this. Let's do this in the here and now, together. And so it is. Give up a high five, touch and agree. Look around the room and allow for a silent blessing to go cascade through this entire room, blessing all of the beings who have arrived here today to celebrate the divine feminine, to celebrate evolving consciousness, to celebrate the divine presence that is in us as our very life and being, as each of us are emanations of a divine presence that is never, ever an absence. Many years ago, I had my spiritual encounter, one of many, in which I was stabbed in the heart in a lucid dream, and I died. And when I woke up, I could see that we were surrounded by a love, a beauty, and an intelligence which was beyond my description. The love penetrated every aspect of my being. The beauty was everywhere, and we're all guided by divine intelligence. That particular encounter led me to meditate, to study, to ultimately discover that this presence is real. This presence is not an absence. It is omnipresent. Say the word omnipresent. That means everywhere present, and this presence is everywhere present in its fullness, meaning this, that this presence cannot divide itself into parts. It is fully present everywhere, which means where you are, God is in its fullness. You are not a part of God. You are the fullness of the presence of God right where you are, and there is nothing outside of that. There is nothing outside of an infinite. So there is nothing outside of the presence. Your heart is now becoming the epicenter of that divine presence. I discovered that the presence was omnipotent, meaning the only power. There is no power outside of omnipotent, outside of the only power, which means the devils that exist are the ones you make up in your mind. The devils that exist are the ones that emanate from your ego and from the sense of separation that you may be living under. I discovered omniscience, which means all-knowing. The presence of God is all-knowing, divine intelligence. The presence of God is omniactive, which means it is the underlying energy, the evolutionary energy that governs our unfoldment, governs our evolution, governs our expansion. Say omnipresent. Say omnipotent. Say omniscient. Say omniactive. I discovered this was the truth, though it had been taught for hundreds and hundreds of years. I had my own encounter, and I discovered that the presence is never an absence. I did discover, of course, that the kingdom of God, as has been taught, is within us. That within not our bodies, but our consciousness, our awareness, who we are as filaments of a divine spiritual being. The kingdom of God is within. Say it. The kingdom of God is within every being, man, woman, boy, child. Everyone carries the realm of good within them. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Hand, as Carlton knows, is expanded good. Ever expanding good is what heaven means. When you love, when you activate your potential, when you have a spiritual insight, when you realize who and what you are, when kindness and compassion begin to emanate through you, you are in expanding good. You are in another stage of heaven, in another stage of ever-expanding good. So you did not come here to die and to go to heaven. You came to die to your littleness and to take heaven with you everywhere that you go. So heaven is not merely a place. Heaven is a state of consciousness, expanded awareness. And so you're releasing yourself from the shackles of fear and doubt and worry and separation, and walking with the awareness upright with a powerful stature that the kingdom of God is within you. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. We have heard your identity, that you are the light of the world. You are the light that lights up every man and woman that comes into the world, the same light that is found in Jesus the Christ, so that your identity clause is that you're luminous. You are light. You are the light of the world. You're not merely flesh and blood, not merely a human being. You are a spiritual being having a human incarnation. Say, I am light. I am luminous. You have discovered in these teachings that it is done unto you as you believe. That is how the universal laws operate. That your belief, your perceptions, your opinions ultimately become your perceptions, and their perceptions ultimately become your experience. So your experience ultimately is a direct feedback as to your thoughts and your beliefs, your opinions, and your points of view. Your context determines your perception. Context determines your perception. The big context, I live, move, and have my beingness in God. My little context, I'm merely human. I'm merely a woman. I'm merely a man. I'm merely this. I'm merely that. I shrink my context. My perception shrinks. My experience shrinks. I expand my context. I live and I'm moving and having my beingness in the presence of God. My perception expands. My thoughts are thoughts of inspiration, and my experience changes. We are not here to be victimized by a small context of life, but we are here to expand our awareness into that divine sense of oneness with the power and the presence and the love of God. We are here today because we are here to localize a cosmic celebration. A cosmic celebration. All of nature, all of the multidimensional universes, all the galaxies, the entire cosmos is in celebration, that it can be in participation with the realm of the divine. What do I mean by that? You have heard of the Big Bang. You have heard the primordial void of infinite potential, the womb of all creation, that dark, feminine void, and the spiritual idea that came from that void that said, let there be light, let there be beauty, let there be intelligence, let there be, let there be, let there be. And out of that burst of orgasmic, blissful awareness, the entire cosmos came out of nothing. Out of nothing but an idea from the womb of infinite creation, and created everything out of itself. Hear this. The presence of God did not move into the realm of creativity because it was lonely. It moved into the realm of creativity to reveal its glorious nature, growing and unfolding in an infinite capacity. How do I know this? Because you can be in your home right now, be alone and not be lonely. And if you can be alone and not be lonely, but understanding your oneness with the presence and the power and the love of God, then the presence itself did not create out of loneliness or lack. It created out of an overflow, an enthusiasm, an entheos, a bliss, an ecstasy. And out of that ecstatic nature of its being, everything was created. Now catch this. You're the image and likeness of God. You have the same faculty of God. The image and likeness means you share a faculty, which means you get to think independent of circumstances, which means you can step back from circumstances, brood upon your oneness with the presence, your oneness with beauty, love, intelligence, abundance, affluence, prosperity, creativity, and out of no thing, birth, have a big bang and birth a whole new life in an instant of brooding on your oneness with the presence of God. You can think independent of any circumstance you're moving through right now and birth a whole new life. Do you get this? Are you picking up what I'm vibrationally putting down? Somebody scream about it. Somebody say, yes, I am. Yes, I can. Yes, I am willing. And so here we go. God is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniactive, everywhere present. Nothing exists out of this. You're the image, the very likeness of this. Muzi has brought us here today to localize the cosmic celebration during this powerful month in which we're celebrating the divine feminine, the power of the woman. He brought us here to come to a greater understanding that this presence is not anthropomorphic, that the presence is not made in the image and likeness of man. We're made in the image and likeness of God. You see, the story goes that God made us in his image and likeness, and we've been trying to return the favor ever since. And so we have put upon this grand presence, which is genderless, by the way, the figure of a man in the sky. Somewhere in history that happened, and as many of the teachers have spoken this morning, that patriarchal masculine point of view has brought the world to the brink of destruction. That masculine energy is a domination, manipulation, control, might makes right, win-lose propositions. That is the issue of making God a man, anthropomorphic. God is genderless, carrying the frequency of masculine and energy, equal, simultaneously expressing the womb of creativity and the high thought of inspiration, birthing something new. Each of you have that dynamic feminine in you. Each of you have the dynamic masculine to recreate the cosmos and reproduce the cosmos according to your unique pattern. You did not arrive here on earth just to pay your rent. You arrived here on earth to reproduce the entire cosmos in ways that you cannot even begin to understand. And so we're embracing this idea. And we're saying in substance to everyone here, and in particular to the women as they are stepping into their dynamic sense of empowerment, as they're stepping into the dynamic sense of knowing who they are, taking the iron foot of oppression off of their neck and stepping up in an awareness that they're worthy, that they're powerful, they're creative, that they're here to make a difference on the planet, that it is going to be that energy that actually serves the emerging paradigm on the planet. I say it that way because sometimes people say, will this teaching save the world? And I have to say to them, what world do you want to save? We're not here to save the world of bigotry and racism and homophobia. We're not here to save the world of religious bigotry. We're not here to save the world of scarcity, lack, limitation, domination, manipulation, control, nuclear weapons. We're not here to save that world. We are here to serve an emerging paradigm. We're here to serve something that is trying to rise up. And what's trying to rise up is this divine feminine energy that is not domination, manipulation, and control. Might makes right. It is not a win-lose proposition. The feminine energy is kindness and compassion and forgiveness. The feminine energy creates community. The feminine energy is not might makes right, but right makes right. That's where the feminine energy lies. It's a win-win situation. When mothers are raising their children, they're not entering into a win-lose situation with their kid, where this kid's going to get more than this kid. So no, they know how to take nothing, create something, and allow for the whole family to win. It is the masculine energy that becomes selfish when it is out of balance. It is the masculine energy that becomes greedy when it's out of balance. It is the masculine energy that's into might makes right when it is out of balance. But when the feminine energy is strong and balanced, communities rise up where everyone wins. Community emanates from commune. We're in communion with the presence that is never, ever an absence. Oil and water cannot commune. They're different substances. You put them together, shake it up, in a few minutes they will separate. But you can commune with God because you have the same nature of God. So you can be still and know that I am God in the midst of you. You can turn within to the closet inside of your own being and pray in secret and allow the external rewards to begin to outpicture. You can commune with the presence of the Most High and allow for that which has been torn down in you, that which has been abused and hurt and wounded, to be resurrected from the divine communion of that which has never been hurt, harmed, or endangered in you. This is a celebration. We're localizing a cosmic celebration and allowing for our lives to be the epicenter of that which is happening everywhere for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. So when we think about the divine feminine, what came to me this morning was the story of Quan Yin, the wonderful feminine aspect of the Bodhisattva. She carries the vibration of compassion, the vibration of community, the vibration of love and kindness. And as the story goes, there was this town, this wonderful town that had been flourishing for many years. The people there were devoted to the balance of the masculine and the feminine. They were devoted to prayer and meditation. They were devoted to study. They were devoted to being in service to each other, knowing that each other were each other. They were so devoted that the town flourished. But then after a while, people began to wane on their spiritual practice. They began to continue to put flowers on the statue of the Buddha, but they stopped putting the teachings into their own heart. And little by little, the town stopped its flourishing. It started to become impoverished. It started, people started bickering with each other. They started entering into competition. They started putting each other down. The garden stopped flourishing as they used to. The crops started to fail. The fishermen couldn't catch any fish. And out of compassion, Quan Yin incarnated into this town. She showed up. And she had the ability to be fine. And she was fine according to the standard of whoever was looking at her. So some men would look at her, and she was round and shapely and big, and they would go, Quan Yin is fine. Whatever an individual's idea of fine was, Quan Yin looked like that to that man. And so she came into town. First day she went out fishing, and she caught a boatload of fish. And they couldn't believe it. They haven't been catching fish in months. And then her garden started to flourish. And then her crops started to grow. And everyone was checking Quan Yin out. And the men started to fall in love with her. And one day they surrounded her and they said, we don't know who you are or where you have come from. But where you go, crops grow, flowers grow, you catch fish. We're in love. We want to marry. You got to marry one of us. And Quan Yin looked at them and they said, you know, it is ordained that I am to marry one of you. I will marry the one who can best recite the Buddha's treatise on compassion. Whoever can best recite that is the one I will marry. I'll meet you here in 2 weeks. They scurried back to their home. They dusted off their spiritual books. They began to study the treatise of compassion. 2 weeks later, they met Quan Yin. And they began to recite the treatise of compassion and kindness and generosity. And out of this group of people, there were 7 of them that had it spot on. And she said, one of you I will marry. The one who can best interpret those treatises according to their life and interpret it according to what's going on in their life, that man I will marry. So they go home and they start to study and they start to analyze and do contemplative meditation to see how this particular teachings of compassion and love actually can be applied in their own life. And they come back, and one by one, they tell the stories of the insights they've received by the study of and contemplation of compassion and kindness and generosity of the heart. And she looked at the 7, she said, this is really good, but these 3 right here, you got it. One of these 3, I will marry. And so she said to the 3 of you, the one who can best embody these teachings, beyond memorization, beyond recitation, beyond analysis, to embody it, I'm destined to marry that man. So they go back and they begin to meditate. They begin to pray. They begin to contemplate. They begin to apply until changes began to take place in their awareness. There became that overarching masculine energy began to be tempered with a rising of a compassion, of an honesty and an integrity, began to rise up in the feeling tone of kindness and joy and an awareness of their oneness with the presence. And as they met with Quan Yin a couple of weeks later, she looked at them in the eyes and she could see they had done real work. They had thought independent of circumstance. They began to go within. They began to taper the hard masculine energy with that feminine energy rising up in them. And she looked at the three of them. She said, you, she pointed at one. She said, you, I am destined to marry. Continue to do your inner work. Meet me here in 1 week. And so he couldn't, he was just overjoyed. He's going to be with Quan Yin. And she was fine. And he showed up early a week later. And he didn't see her. Didn't see her anywhere. And he got a little nervous. Then finally, he saw her swimming in the ocean. He took off his shirt and shoes and jumped in the ocean. He's frolicking with Quan Yin and they're hugging. And all of a sudden he goes to hug her and she's not there. Doesn't see her. Where is she? Oh, he sees her in the forest. And he runs to the forest and they're frolicking and praying and meditating and talking. And he goes to hug her and she's not there. He said, where is she? Then he sees her out in the garden. He goes over to the garden and he starts to hug her and she's gone. He can't see her. He doesn't see her. Doesn't see her. She's gone. And he takes a breath and he calms down and he looks around and he sees her everywhere. There's no place where she's not. The kindness, the compassion, the love, the presence, the spirit of Quan Yin, the spirit of God, the spirit of goddess, the spirit of warrioress, the spirit of priestess, the spirit of wise woman was everywhere. And in that instant, he had the mystical marriage between the masculine energy and the feminine energy. And there was no space where he didn't see his beloved. He saw her everywhere. And the town began to flourish. Crops began to grow. The fishermen began to catch fish again. And roses began to grow. The town became balanced again. They began to be balanced in that masculine and feminine energy. And everything grow. Women, you are here because you are the answer to the systemic issues that we're facing on this planet at this time in human history. The masculine energy has gone crazy. And you want to turn within and come to an awareness that you're so fine, you're so beautiful inside, that you're not taking your cue from anyone external to you at all. You're not letting anyone define your beauty and your power and your joy. And you're becoming so beautiful inside that you develop a sense of kindness and compassion for yourself, sense of kindness and compassion for everyone that you meet. That the men's, their aggressive nature becomes tamed by your real power. That aggressive nature is pseudo power. This is why I say when we talk about people like 45 in office, I never say things like we speak truth to power. I always say we're speaking truth to pseudo power, because there's only one power, and that power is God. So the women are called, not just women, but men too, to balance that energy. But the women are called at this time in human history to become so confident in the choice that they have made to incarnate at this time in human history. Become so confident that they have arrived here to answer a call, that only this energy can begin to mitigate what has gone so wrong in the world, or so right in terms of an evolutionary perspective. Sometimes you gotta go out of balance to get in balance. Just as the sister was talking about, sometimes you got to have a 45. That's the name I call Trump. I don't use his name that often. That's why sometimes you got to have a 45 in office, because he's an evolutionary trigger that's unifying the peace movements, that's unifying all the movements in the United States. Movements that haven't talked to each other in years are now banding together, planning together, visioning together, articulating a new possibility together. He's become the great unifier of individuals who have a vision for a kind and just global society. Sometimes the backward step is just a step to cleanse and clear and bring to the surface that which needs to be healed, so that you can take 2 more steps forward, you see. And so all this time that individuals have been abused and oppressed under apartheid, abused and oppressed as a woman, abused and oppressed all around the world, I call it the slingshot theory. That is, the universe is progressive. It never goes backwards. The universe is still expanding. But whenever there's something that is doggedly negative, it acts like a slingshot where it gets pulled back. And then when you let it go, it flies forward at a rapid pace. You are the vibration and frequency that has been pulled back, now to be slung forward as an answer to this time in human history. That is the vibration that you are carrying. And so you are not going to bemoan your fate. I think she's walking up on me right now. You're not going to bemoan your fate as to what is happening to you. You're going to go deep within, and you're going to discover that place within you that's never been hurt, harmed, or endangered in any way, because it's omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, and omniactive. You're going to embrace it. You're going to say yes to it. You're going to articulate it. You're going to speak to it. You're going to speak about it, and you're going to speak from it until there's a quantum leap. And you will be the ones that embrace the sickness and transmute it into the wholeness that's lying behind it. This is what I know for sure. Peace and richest blessings to you.